Hey everybody, Matt and Ash, just getting set up here. Hope you were well, hope you had a good weekend and enjoyed the festivities last night, including the Fail Mary that the Bears had. How you doing, man?
Oh, I'm doing all right. Well, it's not so much the Bears had a fail Mary. They gave up one, didn't they? The spirit of Aaron Rodgers still owns Chicago, even when he's going trashing another organization. It's beautiful to see. And also not because I was really high on Tyreek Stevenson in the draft, and now it makes me look like a dumbass. He fucking went and did what he did. But hey ho.
I mean, yeah, but it's not your fault. He can't focus on a play, though. It's
True, but
embarrassing.
I should have taken into account that he went to the University of Miami and therefore his football brain does not work. I am totally not salty. I am totally not salty.
Hope everyone's doing well. Just to let you know, we are going to be live on Thursday for the Green Bay preview game, but it's also trade deadline day, so we're going to be doing a quick Green Bay preview, and then we're going to be getting into the trades and whatever's going to be happening there. That's going to form the larger part of the show. We're going to be live throughout the evening. I don't know when the actual deadline time is. I presume it's 4 Eastern. It tends to be 4 Eastern for these things, which would be 5 o'clock UK time. No, it wouldn't. It would be 8 o'clock
uh,
UK time.
yes, it's four. Yeah, it's four p.m. as
Okay,
per usual.
so we'll go live at our normal time,
Yeah,
which in the US would be 3:30 Eastern time because of the clock change. So we'll do our Green Bay preview. The trade deadline will slam shut, and then we'll get into all the trades around the league as well as Detroit. If you guys have any questions, please do get them in, especially about trades for today. That would be fine. We are still trying to find out who might make sense, especially considering what Dan Campbell has just said at the podium. Very much looks like one is in the works or one is in fact done, but we don't know about it yet. So if you want to start talking about that, that'd be great. Grandize are asking, how good does it feel to have a victory Monday? My guy, how did
really
you
good.
lose? How did you
Sorry,
lose?
Granddad.
Oh, you let me
And at least
down.
for us too, it was made a bit sweeter as well by the other big news from today over our side of the pond.
Marmark said trade deadline is US election day, Tuesday, November 5th. I'm pretty sure it's this Thursday, isn't it?
Actually, no, that does ring a bell. I think it is next Tuesday.
Oh,
Trade deadline. Yeah, because yeah, it is. They
oh, I
moved it
was told
back.
it was this Thursday and I just took it for granted. I thought it was in week 9. We're in week 9 now.
They moved it back a week.
Oh, when?
Uh, Earlier this year. Yeah, it is because I remember. Yeah, because
Right, okay. In which case, our Packers review show will be on Tuesday. Then, Tuesday, November 5th.
yeah, there's an issue. Well, you can do that.
Yeah, y-
I unfortunately won't be here. I will be here in spirit. I will be ignoring customers at work and trolling Twitter like I usually do. So at least you can keep updated that way. But unfortunately, I will be stuck in a supermarket.
mhm. There we go. I also have the Wednesday off work because I will be staying up all night for election night. So I can go on all day, baby, talking about trades until counting starts. So Mark says way better than election news. I mean, it's great being a Americanophile outside of America because you can have no skin in the game and just enjoy the chaos for what it is. But there we go. Brent says, I would rather have Key over Landry from what I saw. Y'all. Right, I will take your question and I'm going to pop it in for the end of the show. And I will spend some time considering it because one definitely has more prestige than the other. And I'm not sure it's fair.
True.
I don't
It's
know.
mostly because of their draft pedigree. Like Land and I guess overall career so far. Like Landry has had one good year. It was. Let me have a look. That's the one.
But Key was a third round pick in 2018 and has had 4 consecutive seasons of a 68 grade or better. And Landry was a early second round pick in the same draft class, but has only posted a 68 graded season once, and that is this year, and it hasn't finished yet. So there were 46 picks between them, and every single year Arden Key has outperformed him on PFF. No, the first 3 seasons in Vegas, Arden Key was poor, and then he really picked it up when he moved.
The thing is, I'm just getting it up so I can double check overall. God's sake.
Wow, so opposite Josh Hines Allen, he had 51 pressures in 2022 in Jacksonville. That's insane.
Mad.
For a player of his body type.
Yeah. So, where is it? There we go. That's what I wanted. Here's the thing, though. So the most sacks Arden Key's ever had in a season was 6.5 when he was with San Francisco in 2021. Landry has had 1, 2, 3 seasons. We've hired that, and which was 2019 with 9, 2021 with 12, and then last year he had 10.5. So Key's probably the more consistent player.
Who's more consistent? Key.
And then Landry has the higher upside.
So Landry is the heavier, faster player.
I believe so.
So according to PFF's weight,
yeah.
Key's 240 and Landry is 252, but Landry's 3 inches shorter and 12 pounds heavier. So Key has length, but a lack of weight.
Mm-hmm.
Well, maybe that means that he'd be faster, but clearly he didn't test the combine.
Yeah, Key has got length, Landry's got girth.
Grandad's are just talking about trade deadline. We will be live on that Tuesday. Ash won't be. I will be. Why did I think it was this Thursday? Maybe it was.
It usually is. Yeah. It usually is, but they've moved it back for one reason or another, which means it's annoying for us because obviously we're buyers right now, and there's some teams that just won't work out that they're sellers until it's too late, because as soon as the game's over, you've got 48 hours.
Yeah, but I guess if it had to be now, teams have as much information as they do now. You give them one extra game, that's another game for them to work out that they're dead. So more time may be better for us in that way.
So that's true. And then obviously without saying, you've got less time. Let's say, I don't know, the Bengals right now. Let's say they lose next. I know we're probably not getting Hendrickson, but I'm just using an example. They lose next on Sunday. Whatever team then wants to try and trade for Hendrickson has 2 days to get it done. While if it's forget what I've just said. I'm being silly. If it was now, actually no, I'm kind of being right. So let's say, I don't know, it was Thursday. Now they've got 4 days from the end of the last game to work it out. Now they've only got 2. So you've technically got half the time to work out.
The Salem Bad Moon Rising on YouTube has just hit upon the one name when I was looking at expiring contracts, which I actually wanted. Only one name. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
I don't think it's very realistic. But it is a name that would elicit that reaction from Dan.
Very true. Here's the issue, though. I hate to be the bearer of bad news. You can't trade players from IR. They have to pass a physical.
When's he eligible to return?
I will have a look now.
So he went on 27 days ago. So he's eligible to return after this game coming, I think.
So according to A to Z Sports, Lawrence won't be back. Yeah. So what week are we in now? We've just done week 8, haven't we? So yeah, just about the earliest that Lawrence, Cooks, and Marshall and Leland can come off IR is after week week 9.
Is the deadline
Yeah.
day? It's Tuesday because that is the start of that week. So
Mm-hmm.
he would have to be activated off IR and then traded the same day. So according to the injury report, when he went on IR, it was expected to last 4 to 8 weeks. But it's a Liz Frank injury, and I'm not sure whether the Lions would be happy trading for a player that had a Liz Frank injury like that, considering how much he gets paid.
And especially since Liz Franks can last the whole season. Look at Julio about 3-4 years ago. He had one that was supposed to last him that long, and he was out for the rest of the season. They're nasty buggers. That's why I don't think we were anywhere. We didn't touch the defensive tackle that me and Ant really liked out of Illinois.
Jose Newton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just seeing what else we have here. Salem saying he didn't know he was on IR. Yeah, went on the 1st of October. Drew says, what are your odds to trade for 2 edges, i.e. open end and a Sam? Don't think a closed end is likely. I think everything's on the table. I think they will trade for anyone they think is going to bring them a positive.
I know it's obviously you probably put in the document to answer later, but my only thing I'll say right now is the fact we were not involved in the Uche talks and reports, supposedly, and the way that we actually are cutting back on the use of the Sam suggests that actually we won't be looking at a Sam. It will be
fundamentally disagree with that take, but yes, carry on. I think the fact that we don't utilise it is personnel related. They don't think anyone is capable of utilising it to a good level, so they're not trying to put their players in bad positions.
Maybe, but let me have a look. I will look, but I believe that our favourite Sam right now, who we'll get onto later, because he got juked out of his shoes, I think he has one of the best passion rushing grades on the team. Let me just double check. And yeah, number 7, he is.
Sorry, you guys have asked some good questions and I'm just putting them in the chat. Grandizer, I'm not putting all of them in because otherwise you're going to hog all of the Q&A. So bear that in mind. And yes, I don't want to ruin this channel with election talk. So anyone who said, are you going to go live for the election? I would potentially be tempted to go on my own channel and go live. But I don't want to poison this channel with yeah. I mean, whatever side you say you're supporting, you're going to piss off the other one. And we don't need to do that. So, oh, yeah. D-Map Zoom with a good question as well. Well done, guys. Keep them coming. I don't think we're going to be dwelling on this game particularly long. I say that every single time, and then we go for like 2.5 hours. But you know,
because it's us too, exactly.
We
need the others to shut us up.
No, but they end up talking as well. Ant is the one person who maybe talks more than me, to be honest. Which is a good thing. I like the back and forth, especially. Like, I think me and you see the game fairly similarly, and sometimes I will get stuff factually wrong and you'll come in with a correction, or sometimes I'll see things slightly differently to you. But I think Ant sees things fairly fundamentally differently, and I think that's really good for the show. So when he's not on, I'm sad. Not because of the personality stuff, which obviously, like, I get on well, I think, with everyone on the show, but, like, it's just that he always has different takes. Frog Crop, I haven't seen any update on Rodrigo as yet. The rumour in the game was that it was a high ankle sprain, which could potentially, I guess, be season ending, or it could maybe, that sort of thing could put you out for maybe like 6 to 8 weeks, and then that would put him firmly in coming back for the last couple of games of the regular season.
Yeah, but there was also some after the game that was saying he's avoided like a major injury, should be fine. So it's just
But like avoiding a major injury could be like it's not season ending; it's 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah,
He's still missing like a third of the year, and it's not a major injury because. But it's there we go. Grandizer loves Hank. He loves some Hank. Okay, right. Shall we do this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recording in progress.
Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance. Blah 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 blah. Oh my god! Right, should we do that again? Right. Welcome to another edition of the Royal Alliance UK podcast, episode 300. Don't stop Khalifin. My name's Matthew Turner, alongside Ashley Soden. How you doing, man?
Doing great now. Now I'm disappointed in myself. If I'd known it was episode 300, I would have worn something different.
Yes, well.
There's
Sparta!
But exactly. I have everything for it. If I'd known, I would have done better. But alas, instead I'm dressed as what we all scared Goth would look like after that first quarter. So for the audio listeners, come look at the video on YouTube, because let's just say I'm glad I've got a radiator in my room right now. It is very chilly and I am a bit torn. My clothes are a bit torn up.
Yeah, it is a horrifying view if you're on the audio pod. Go and have a look at Ash. But it's not pretty.
That's no different to any other time.
I love it. That's the self-deprecating British humour you've all come to know and love. Right, this is not the Minnesota review show, as it says in the doc. It is the Tennessee review show. We are going to be breaking down the Lions' big victory at home against the Tennessee Titans, which maintains their lead at the top of the NFC. But first, please do come and join our Discord channel. There is a link in the audio description of the podcast, and there are live links right now in YouTube and Twitch. If you've not joined us in there before, please, please, please do. I want to build this lovely community of like-minded people who are just great to talk to. We had some great fun talking about the Tigers run in the baseball this year, supporting the Pistons where we can. Red Wings are live now, all the UK sports as well, and just, chatting about this and that and everything. It's a really cool place. Do come and talk to us there. College Football Podcast is going to be coming up later on this week, either tomorrow or Wednesday, I believe. Looking forward to a really good one. It was another cracking weekend of college football. I would say, Ash, eminently predictable, but I don't know. What do you think?
Of course you would say that, you bastard. Well, I'm not going to. I can't comment on college football anymore, because watching my team makes me want to, do a. I'm trying to think of a decent Tennessee reference. Well, the offense is usually just as bad. So, at least it's not as bad as Ten Hag's Man United. At least
there we go. I mean, there were some absolutely cracking matches on the slate. Including Ohio State just squeaking past Nebraska. Ohio continuing to cement status as fraudulent, even though they're top 5 ranked. Vanderbilt continue their incredible season by only losing by 3 to Texas. Indiana keep up their unbeaten season by beating Washington. Could they go all the way? They certainly look playoff bound. You had top 10 A&M beating LSU. You had Kansas State beating Kansas 29-27. There were some really, really big games in there. SMU squeaking past Duke by a point. I mean, it was a really, really fun week of college football, so do go and check out Ant and Ryan on that one later this week. Please do like the show, sub to the podcast. You guys know what to do. Please hit that button. It means a lot to us. It helps us with the algorithm and all that good stuff. You know what it means. And do go and support Lions Nation Unite. That's Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. And features on there heavily. I'm going to try and get a bit more involved. There's going to be opportunities for all of us to do that. And so if you want to see more of us, that might be a good place to go. We are Twitch affiliated. YouTube monetizes. Tip jar down below. If you want to show us some love, that'd be great. But you being here is more than enough. Right, one piece of news. We've briefly discussed it in the pre-show, we have asked some questions on it as well, and we're going to continue to take questions throughout. But Dan Campbell's just had a presser about half an hour ago, and when he was asked whether there could be a trade in the works, he replied, "Could be." He was asked about it again, and he started bouncing up and down with a big cheesy grin, saying, "Could be," and he could be teasing us. But Ash, it's the reaction of a man that knows that something has or is happening.
Yeah, very much so. He looked as excited as me at the prospect of a new book coming out that I love. Like, it was mad. It could be that it's announced tomorrow because obviously they go back to practice. Probably they want it. They're on the said player is on their way, and then they'll announce it tomorrow just before practice opens, just like they usually do with the transactions. So hopefully, fingers crossed, this time tomorrow we will know who our shiny new toy is, and whoever it may be. By Parker SA, I guess.
There could be someone lower down. He might not be 53rd man. You never know.
Like, considering the fact we're elevating Zane Silstra, speaks a lot about him. But yeah, true. We've got that, and then obviously we've also got the decision time on Christian Mahogany coming up tomorrow as well. So,
all right, let's get into this one. And just to preface this with this victory, the Lions are off to their best start in nearly 70 years. The last time they went 6-1, they actually ended up going 7-1 in the 1956 season, where they just missed out on a championship. I'm reading this off Pride of Detroit. I can't take any credit for it. Go and read Jeremy's article. It is good. He also highlights the fact that the last time we went back-to-back 5-1, as we have done this season, that was in 1933 and 34, when they weren't even called Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to take any credit for a really well-written article. Right, game 52-14 in favour of the Lions. And it was one of the most unique games in NFL history. If you have a look at a graph of points scored to offensive yards, it is in a world of its own. Nothing comes close. Mason Rudolph for the Titans, 22 of 38, 266, a touchdown and 2 interceptions. He had a QBR and a passer rating within 0.1 of each other, which is quite fun. Ooh. 66.4 and 66.3. Obviously, most of the time, QBR is a lot under the passer rating, and they tend to kind of rise and fall in somewhat tandem. So QBR quite liked his performance, but passer rating did not. Rushing, they had 158 yards on the ground on 32 carries at 4.9 yards per carry. That was led by Tony Pollard, especially in garbage time. He churned out some really good yardage. 94 yards on 20 carries for him. Julius Horse Chestnut also did really well too. 7 carries for 32 yards later on. Mason Rudolph himself had 4 carries for 29 yards and a 11-yard touchdown. He had a 14-yard rush as well in there. That was a horrible touchdown. We'll talk about that in a minute. In the receiving game, Calvin Ridley had over 100 yards in the first quarter alone, but could only manage then another few yards. He ended up with 143 on 10 receptions. The only receiving touchdown by them was to Nicholas Westbrook-Akine, 2 of 4 for 39 and a touchdown. They did have 3 fumbles. They lost 2. The lost fumbles were by Ridley and Okonkwo. The third fumble was by Jaquan Jackson on a punt return, but he recovered it himself. On defense, the Titans were led by replacement linebacker Jack Gibbons, who was starting because of the trade that they made last week. He had 8 tackles. They had 4 sacks in total, 2 by Arden Key, 1 by Jeffrey Simmons and 1 by Roger McCreary. They also had another 3 tackles for a loss, 1 by Jarvis Brownlee, 1 by Jeffrey Simmons, 1 by Roger McCreary. They had 1 pass defended by Darrell Baker Jr., 5 quarterback hits. They are mainly the sacks. There was an additional 1 for Arden Key. In terms of kicking, Nick Folk was 2 of 2 in extra points, and Ryan Stonehouse, his figures looked fine, but I think he was one of the main reasons why they lost. We talked about it in the preview show. We'll get on to him towards the end of the show in terms of themes. But he was 6 punts for an average of 49.3 yards per punt, with along with 62. For the Lions, Jared Goff was 12 of 15 for 85 and 3 touchdowns with no picks. He had a QBR of 15, but a passer rating of 129.9. So while Mason Rudolph's were very close together, Jared's are very far apart. We also had Hendon Hooker come in through 2 of 3 for 6. And David Montgomery had 1 of 1 for 3 and a touchdown. Beautiful work by Knuckles himself. Jahmyr Gibbs, 11 for 127 and a touchdown on the ground. Monty himself had a rushing touchdown as well, 9 for 33. The Lions had 164 total on the ground. The receiving game, Sam Laporta had a good day, one of his best days so far this season. He was 6 of 6 for 48 and a touchdown. The next person after Laporta had 14 receiving yards. That was Khalif Raymond, 2 of 2 for a touchdown. 2 of 2 for 14 and a touchdown. Brock Wright was 1 of 1 for 8 and a touchdown. And Aaron Ra was 2 of 2 for 7 and a touchdown in a very efficient passing performance by the Lions. We did have ourselves 2 fumbles. Jared Goff got 1 back, and so did Kevin Zeitler. The people who recovered the fumbles for Tennessee were Carlton Davis and Isaiah Thomas. Both were forced by Amik Robertson. On defense, we were led by Jack Campbell, who's in a world of his own. 11 tackles, the next nearest had 7. The Lions had 1 sack on the day. That was by Alex Anzalone, and 2 other tackles for loss by Amik Robertson and Liam McNeil. 5 passes defended, 1 by Terrion Arnold, 2 by Kirby Joseph, 1 by Carlton Davis, 1 by Trevor Nowaski. We also had 5 quarterback hits. So in addition to the sack, we also had 1 for Brian Branch, 2 for Levi, and 1 for James Houston. Of course, Khalif Raymond also had a punt return touchdown. That was a 90-yarder for him in a record-breaking day. 5 punt returns for 190 yards at an average of 38 yards per punt return, which is exceptional. Khalil Dorsey also had a kick return for 72 yards. The Lions had 2 interceptions. 1 was by Trevor Nowaski early on in this game, and 1 by Kirby Joseph. Jake Bates was perfect again. 1 of 1 for field goals, 7 of 7 at extra points, and Jack Fox had a terrific day with the leg. 5 punts for 305 yards, an average of 61 yards per punt as he flipped the field a few times, along of 67. Ash, one of the most statistically remarkable games I've ever watched.
Yeah, 100%. And part of the clicking away, you could probably hear me, is just quickly looking to see how ESPN QBR is calculated. It's like an EPA per measure. So that's why we can have what's happened with the 2 QBs, where one's got 1 that's pretty much identical to his passer rating. One's got 1 that is pretty much as far away from it as you can get. Yeah. Just one of them games like where special teams stepped up, defense stepped up with turnovers, which meant Goff really didn't have to throw that many yards, but he was hyper efficient at it according to passer ratings kind of metrics, which means why his was so high. And then by the other measure, because Rudolph was throwing lots, he was making pretty damn good throws on us, especially at the start of the first half against our zone coverage. He gets a nice ESPN QBR, but not as nice passer rating because obviously there were turnovers. So it's just one of them. But yeah, it was a weird game to watch, obviously with the 3 and outs and stuff. But by about halfway through the second quarter, the Titans had given up, which meant we could just tee off on them, and to the point where we could literally pull the starters for once, which was a weird thing to happen for a Lions team because we're not really that kind of team.
Yeah, it's true. Sorry, there's lots of really good chat in the chat about the game, so I'm just trying to follow it along and take some good snippets. Just to get onto the inactives, because for those who haven't watched our live play-by-play show, obviously we talked about them. Jameson Williams obviously couldn't go. Josh Pascal was ruled out by illness, and then the voluntary ones that we had: Parker Hesse, tight ends, right guard, right tackle, Colby Sawstill, left tackle, Giovanni Manu, Lawrence Strickland, the safety. No real surprises in there, was there?
Yeah, not really, no. So, like, as I say, Hesse, this in particular, that's kind of standing out because we've elevated Zylstra. Suggests that Zylstra's jumped in, which means he's expendable, which is sad. But yeah, it's just the same old for our inactives. And So yeah, that's good.
And I just want to give a shout out for the super chat to Jason Adderley, the £10 super chat. Appreciate you, Jason. Thank you very, very much. That really helps us out. If you ever want to ask a question along with your super chat, please feel free, because we will, of course, answer it at the time. Great way to catch my attention. Titans inactive. Obviously, the big one was Will Levis, who couldn't go for the second straight week. Ty J. Spears, I think, was a big miss at running back, just because the draftee last year, second year, is he Ty J. Spears?
I think he's second.
I think he's second year. But anyway, he did so well. I think he did. It was rookie season last year behind Derrick Henry. I'm pretty sure it was, and he actually looked better than Derrick Henry when Henry was injured. Yes, Spears, really good change of pace back. Kind of provides maybe a bit of thunder and lightning himself when he was along with Derrick Henry, and him missing kind of removes something. The really big miss, apart from Jerome Baker, who was acquired via trade, obviously he wasn't ready to go. L'Jarius Sneed couldn't go, who hasn't had the best time of it so far, but high-priced trade that they made. And then the tackle Nicolas Petit-Frere, who is not the best tackle in the world, but where he's the starter and your backup's worse than that, they were always going to suffer a little bit. And while their rushing stats looked fine, and Rudolph was somewhat well protected, they could have been better in that regard. I mean, they only scored 14 points in the end.
Yeah, they really could have. So Petit Frere was the big miss for them, because they were starting a guy who, when I read his name out to you yesterday, you didn't know who he was, even though he obviously gave us a good moment where we could both in unison say a famous internet meme, which was great. But yeah, Ty J. Spears, the former Tulane Green Wave running back, big miss for them, because that meant they had to go to Chestnut, who is their version of Craig Reynolds. Can get you what is blocked, but not much else, which when you're behind that offensive line isn't great. And yet then the rest were kind of expected, like Sneed, we knew was going to be active. Baker just hadn't had time to fully acclimate to their defense, which meant, that Gibbons had to go, which wasn't too bad for them. Gibbons looked kind of decent-ish. But again, then Levis, kind of wish we could have faced him, because could he have done what Rudolph did against us? I don't really know. He probably would have got a bit more on the ground in situations, but, Kirby would have got a few more interceptions, which would have been nice.
A few more? How many more do you want?
Enough to get over bloody Xavier McKinney, please.
All the good safeties belong in the north. That's what it is. All right, let's get into the drive-by-drive here. So Tennessee won the toss and deferred, so we end up taking the kickoff. First mistake. Don't give us the ball at home. That's a really poor decision. But anyway, I say that, but the first play was a great sack by Arden Key. So lines up on the right-hand side of the line as he sees it, up against Taylor Decker at left tackle. And it didn't really make him work for it. Particularly Arden Key with a little speed rush around the outside. And to be honest, it was... Okay, thanks for that, Ash, but now I can't see the work. Okay,
No.
It's okay, it's fine. So, dips his shoulder a little bit, but not really. Just kind of runs around the outside of Decker, who doesn't really go to block him. It's a really weird play. Lions can't recover after that. They lost quite a substantial amount on that sack. Ends up at 4th and 5 from the 35-yard line. And the punt is all the way to the Tennessee 8, returned by Jaquan Jackson to the 11. He ended up fumbling, so it was the very first time that Tennessee touched the ball, but it was recovered by them. That really could have put the cat amongst the pigeons early. Tennessee's first drive, 2nd and 6 to Ridley for a first down. And then a play-action pressure by Levi and Reader, a panicked throw by Rudolph, and it was picked off by Nowaski at the Tennessee 23. Let's just stop there. There's a few really big plays in there. So first off, the Arden Key sack beating Decker, but then this awful throw by Mason Rudolph. You see Levi coming from the left-hand side. You see Reader coming through the middle. Instead of eating a sack, Rudolph throws it relatively in the position of somewhere where there's a player coming, but you have Nowaski who's lined up at the edge, who kind of drops back into a position where he can make a play, but he can also come up and tackle Rudolph as he escapes. Really good kind of edge-contained sort of position. And he reads the pass thoroughly and picks it off. Can't really make much yardage after that. But considering go 3 and out, it's a beautiful play to flip the field and put the Lions in great field position to start off their second drive, Ash.
Yeah, really, really was. So, especially on that way, he sort of fakes the rushing away, the edge containing, then drops back into a hook zone. The kind of play that, I keep memeing about it, but the one that always seems to get Goff. Just think of the interception he threw against the Cardinals this year to Dennis Gardeck. It's that kind of play. And if you watch it back, at least, or if you've seen the cut up that Jeremy did about it earlier, Branch kind of gets the assist on it as well by sort of being on the inside to Rudolph tries to fit to the outside, right where Nowaski can just literally come and jump the route. So it was a nice sort of way for the defense to step up where the offense, kind of, don't want to say flamed out, but again, the way I'm dressed, didn't look good. Like just Decker getting beat, not even by, there wasn't a pass rush review, literally just got around the corner on Decker, which is concerning. And then, Goff fumbling yet again. Luckily, we managed to recover it, but we are really riding our luck there. Like, if there's a time where you don't want to be doing that, it'll be next week because you don't want to give whoever's under quarterback for Green Bay next week, you don't want to give them an extra chance to score on us because it's going to be one of them games. We need all the fine margin wins we can get, and, not fumbling the ball would be a nice start.
Indeed. Someone's just asked me to do a shot, but I do not have any alcohol with me at the moment. But there we go. Yeah, it was a really interesting set of plays in the first couple of drives because, the way that Tennessee ended up having some offense in this first quarter, if we end up going behind after they defer, it starts feeling a bit like last week where, you're kind of fighting against it to begin with. Obviously, I think we come good, but, it's not ideal. As it is, Nowaski absolutely does the business, and the Lions punish them in double quick time, the very first play out of the interception. Monty has a rush for 9 yards, but gets hauled down by his face mask, so it's a half-distance penalty. First down and goal from the 7, given to Monty again. He won't go down. Landry should have got him, but missed the tackle. Really poor by him, actually, for a touchdown. PAT is good. Lions lead by 7. Tennessee's second drive returns from the goal line to the 28 on the kickoff. Pollard rush up the middle for 17. There were no linebackers whatsoever in that play for the Lions. But then a TFL for McNeil versus Pollard. Great penetration through the middle for a loss of 2. On 3rd and 8, great PBU by Carlton Davis III against Westbrook Akine. And a punt was to the 7-yard line of Detroit, returned to the 16. Detroit's third drive, Gibbs gets a rush on the far side, gets to the corner and gets himself 11. It looks very much like the touchdown, but the defender was just in slightly better location. But then later in the drive, under pressure, Goff spins into trouble, and it's a cornerback, McCreary, for the sack. On 3rd and 23, Arden Key gets a strip fumble, but it was recovered again by Detroit. So in this one, Key's actually being locked up by Decker quite well. Goff drops, and Decker's right in front of Goff. Goff then steps up in the pocket, and Key can just release to the left to go and sack Goff because Goff walks into his arms, basically. It's not ideal by Goff. Maybe Decker can do a better job to kind of anticipate where Goff's going to go, but you don't really know he's going to step up in the pocket like that. It's a difficult one to put on Decker, but maybe there's a little bit of blame to go both ways. Anyway, that is drive ender. Obviously, 3rd and 23, you're not going to get over that, really. Punt from deep in our own territory goes to the Tennessee 19 for a 63-yard punt, which was returned to the 24. So only 5 return yards on a 63-yard punt. Exceptional work by Mr. Fox. Third possession for Tennessee. Nice play action scrambled throw to Josh Wiley. He was under pressure but managed to throw across his body, and Wiley, because of the pressure in his face, he completely had loads of room over the middle and managed to get to the Detroit 42. Then down the far sideline, a throw by, why have I said by, and then I've just forgotten, Mason Rudolph, thank you, why have I said thank you to myself? I don't know. There's an inner monologue in my head talking to me. Anyway, carrying on. Rudolph throwing far sideline to Ridley. Branch has as tight a coverage as you can get without committing a penalty. It's a great throw in the right position and a really good catch by Calvin Ridley at the Detroit 11. And then a fake handoff to Tony Pollard kept by Rudolph. He's the only guy going to the left-hand side. Everyone else went right, which meant that Nowaski is the only person that read it, was the only person in his way. He was covering a tight end, though, so Nowaski's in two minds about whether to come, whether to stay. He ends up trying to go towards the quarterback, who fakes the pass and fakes out Nowaski and can just walk in for the 11-yard touchdown. PAT's good. It's a tie ball game, 7-7. Detroit's fourth possession, an inside handoff to Jahmyr Gibbs for a 70-yard touchdown. He got the edge, much like he did earlier. This time the defenders were not in very good location. Great block by Decker and Glasgow. Glasgow getting up to the second level to fence it off to spring him free. And Gibbs, such speed on that 70-yard touchdown. They've done another sonic animation for that one, which is really good. PAT's good, 14-7 there, but Tennessee hit straight back. OPI to start with, though, for Tennessee, so it's 2nd and 18 to begin with. Big throw, though, then to Calvin Ridley for 47 yards. He absolutely burned Robertson in the slot. But Kirby had a fantastic touchdown-saving tackle in the open field. I do believe, even though there was another man back there, the way that Ridley was going to the left-hand side when Kirby made the tackle, if he didn't make it, and it was against how Kirby was flowing. Kirby was flowing to his left, and Ridley was transitioning to his right. If he gets beyond that arm, that's going to the house. So that saves 6, but only for a few moments. Timing route to Ridley for 12 to Detroit 19. Brilliant play design then on a odd sort of toss, then handoff sweep to Jaquan Jackson for a touchdown, but 2 holdings flags rule this out. So they have to go back to 1st and 20, but then a great throw to Ridley for 15. And then on 2nd and 5, a quick throw to Ridley for 6 to get the first down. And then on the subsequent 2nd and goal from the 5, an RPO touchdown to Westbrook-Akine versus Arnold. It's one of those where you just run a slant, and if it's put in the right place, then there's very little the corner can do. PAT was good. Tie ball game 14-14. And I think I'll leave it there because there's still a lot more to come before the half, Ash. This is just after the first quarter finishes. 14-14. We've managed to turn them over. We've scored a couple of touchdowns, but they've also managed to score a couple of touchdowns. Gibbs' run was fantastic, but Ridley's chemistry with Rudolph really starts to show. Rudolph looked like he was on fire at this point. They had several big penalties with the OPI and the holding. It didn't seem to set them back. We had Goff spinning into sacks. We were scoring points, but it didn't feel altogether comfortable at this point.
Yeah, 100%. Not only was Rudolph on fire, by the end of the first quarter, Ridley was on pace for 500 yards or something stupid. It was flashbacks to last year where we were just giving wide receiver ones all the yards in the world. But we bounced back. As you say, the Gibbs touchdown, faster than JMO so far this season, 22.03 miles per hour. That's some speed and a half. The only player who's run faster than that so far this season is Bryce Thomas Jr. for the Jags, who now unfortunately will be out for the next couple of weeks. At the same time that Christian Kirk breaks his collarbone, the Jags aren't going to be winning any games anytime soon. Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. But yeah, fair play to Tennessee. I ragged them on a bit on my game preview article, said that their offense is as potent as FSU's, which means they smell like a garbage dump.
Have you seen what Ant posted in Discord?
Yes.
So 97.1 are reporting that the Lions do have a trade in place, but they can't speak about it. Just putting that out there. Sorry, please continue.
It's fine. It's fine. And I did say that I did rag on them, particularly with Ridley, and then he goes off. So it was bound to happen. But again, we got ourselves kind of in a hole with the sacks and that. And the team steps up. On the other side, that third drive, they did pretty much all they could. But then Kirby tackling really well, just proving that he's improving and he's going to eventually get to the lofty heights that I've set for him. But for once, we weren't the ones committing the penalties. I think it wasn't into this first half. We had 0 penalties, 0 yards, while they kept giving themselves backwards and backwards. That's what we wanted to see. So yeah, wasn't going perfectly on all phases of the ball, but it was tiny little individual mistakes that obviously we could fix, and by God, did we fix them?
Mm. Yeah, we did really fix them, but there was still a quarter of play to go before that happened.
I mean, we've got to 14-14. They literally don't score again.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we scored 38 unanswered from here. That's crazy, crazy stuff. Anyway, Detroit's 5th possession, and here's where we hit the ground running. Kickoff returned by Khalil Dorsey for 72 yards to the Tennessee 25 from the Detroit 3. He was absolutely flying down the sideline. Really good blocking. Coverage is... I don't think the coverage for the Titans was bad at any point particularly. I thought our blocking was exceptionally good. If I remember, that kickoff return was being led out by Isaiah Williams, who I thought did a really good job to spring him free as well. So we end up starting at the Tennessee 25. Monty run for 5 off left tackle to the 20. Tight end screen to Sam Laporta for a loss of 1 means 3rd and 6. And then a really fun play. 3rd and 6 throw causes a double penalty, both enforced by Jarvis Brownlee. He committed DPI and a face mask by grabbing the face mask just before a pass was actually received. So not only did you have the 15-yard penalty, you then also had a spot foul, and then a half-distance penalty, which is just hilarious. That put us into 8 yards to go. Play action throw to Brock Wright for an 8-yard touchdown PAT. Good, 21-14. First play out of that after the kickoff. A play action throw intercepted by Kirby Joseph, who read the deep cut by the wide receiver, broke on that and caught it ahead of the receiver at the Tennessee 45, returning it to the Tennessee 12. So the last drive started at the 25. This one starts at the 12. On 3rd and 7, Goff throws to Sam Laporta to get down at the 1-yard line for first down and goal at that spot. A play action then throw from Goff to Amon-Ra St. Brown, who had about 6 yards of separation all alone in the end zone for a touchdown. PAT's good, and 28-14 in the blink of an eye. Tennessee determined to get back into things in their 6th possession. Start off with a 1st and 15 after a false start, but nice running by Pollard, thrown the ball after running a quick curl route. Arnold gave him so much room, maybe like 6 yards of cushion. Not really sure why. I think he was maybe defending a bit deeper in zone coverage, thinking that someone might go beyond him, but just a bit cautious. Gave Pollard enough room to beat Arnold going right and then Campbell going left to get the first down from that spot. On 2nd and 2, Pollard is stymied by Levi for only a gain of 1. On 3rd and 1, a throw to Josh Wiley, and Alex Anzalone somehow stops him short. For all the world, it looks like Wiley is already there, but Anzalone somehow hammers him to make it 4th and 1, and then on 4th and 1, Rudolph takes it himself running to the right-hand side, approaches the line to gain. Campbell manages to get there with a hand, but Rudolph's momentum just about takes him there. But on the very next play, Anzalone reads the play action perfectly, and he's meeting Rudolph just as he gets his head up out of the play action. Huge loss. Vanit misread it, the backup tight end, I believe. Loss of 8 on that play. Then a running back screen by Pollard gets 23, but a flag for holding puts them back another 10 yards. They're 2nd down and 28. Rudolph's scramble gets 14, half the yardage gets 3rd and 14. But then the throw to Calvin Ridley beyond the sticks is broken up by Terry and Arnold. Really important play in the context of things. Tennessee punts the 14, but Raymond beats almost all of them. Has a 3-on-2 deep. He's got 2 blockers versus 2 people, but can't break free from there. It's a 64-yard return to the Tennessee 22. So the starting position of the last 3 drives, the 25, the 12, and the 22 of Tennessee, I mean, they really did a number on them. It was absolutely fantastic. So Detroit's 7th drive, runs outside for 9, then outside for 2 for the first down, then up the middle for 7 to the Tennessee 4, but then no gain makes it 3rd and 3. Monty manages to get down to the half-yard line, which was the only place he could get to for a first down. On 1st and goal, the oddest formation you ever did see is like a diamond formation with the quarterback split backfield behind him and then the running back behind that. I've never seen it in the pros, but I'm sure it's happened before. It didn't work because Jeffrey Simmons got the 2-yard TFL at the Tennessee 3. On second down and goal, a vertical toss to Monty, who swings out to the right-hand side and then passes it to Sam Laporta at the back of the end zone for a 3-yard touchdown. PAT was good, and it made it 35-14. Fantastic tight spiral thrown by David Montgomery. And then the final drive of the half, Tennessee really did look like for all the world they were going to score here. Pressure by Aline. Rudolph escapes and throws it away. Anzalone puts pressure on. He throws it towards Tyler Boyd at the Tennessee 43, and Branch commits DPI. It's a bit soft, but it's probably fair. Second down and 6, run up the middle by Pollard for 12. Second and 10, a throw on the near sideline to Westbrook-Akine for 34 yards to the Detroit 7 against Terry and Arnold. Westbrook-Akine just got in the right spot. Arnold got behind the play when he really needed to be side to side with it, really. So first down and goal at the 7. Next play, throw to Okonkwo, DPI by Branch at the goal line. And again, I think that was probably fair. It's soft, but, you got there early. So there you go. So ball's placed at 1 yard line with 33 seconds left in the half. And then they go pass. And frankly, Rudolph didn't give his receivers a chance. Fourth and goal, Levi hits the throwing arm, so it kind of wobbles a lot. Is caught, although ruled out of bounds by Ridley, and he did go out of bounds before not re-establishing himself, so it was a legal touching. And there was a holding in there too. All were declined, so it was turned over on downs, and then Goff just has a QB sneak to get out of the end zone so we could get to the half. Ash, it was a perfect second quarter, really, for the Lions. We went 3 touchdowns in consecutive possessions, great field position, and the defense, the Titans got to midfield and we forced them to punt, which we then returned really well. And then they got to the goal line and we made a great stand. The momentum was only going one way at this point.
Yeah, 100%. It was as perfect as we can get, as you say. Just the only downside is that Jack Gibbons is a boring bastard and wouldn't let Raymond get a punt return touchdown that early in the game. He has to wait till later. So, screw you, Jack Gibbons. But yeah, I just feel sorry for Ben Johnson in a way, because getting all these short fields, he can't use all these plays. He's going to have to save some of them for later in the season. He can't use all these between the 20 plays. He just has to keep going to the red zone section. So now he's going to have to go home and drop more of them because you've seen them all. It was just wild. We went from the sort of pass protection not being there in the first couple of drives to giving Gibbs and our backs all the yards they could need to get up to stuff. The only time we didn't really was with that weird odd split formation, which we'll say that, and then in 3 weeks' time we'll have the perfect play to throw out of that, where teams will see it on tape and think, oh yeah, we know what to do here. And we'll throw a screen to the back who's supposed to be on that side and they get a touchdown or something stupid. We are but mere mortals compared to the galactic genius that is Ben Johnson. We will eat our words one day. But to be fair to Tennessee, they still managed to get a couple of drives. Admittedly, the 7th one, they got a bit out with the flags. Maybe were a bit soft, but yeah, with penalties. So but they still managed to get some decent drives together. It's just we got them behind the sticks with the sack, and they couldn't really get past that. And then on that 7th drive, just going pass from the goal, from the 1, okay, yeah, we're one of the best run defending teams in the league, but you've got a decent back who is getting loads of yards after contact. You can surely give him at least one handoff, especially with our edge contained being a bit iffy right now with Hutch not being there and Pascal not being there. Would have been worth a try, but it is what it is. I'm not going to complain because meant we went into the half with one of our highest point totals of the season so far, with a whole other half to add to it, and boy, did we.
All right. Second half. Tennessee's 8th possession as they deferred, so they take the ball. 3rd and 5 by Rudolph to Ridley in the flat for 4. Great tackle by Alex Anzalone to stop him short, and they end up punting to the 10 of Detroit. and it's returned by Khalif Raymond 90 yards for the touchdown. The defense was on the field to protect the 4th and 1 because we were up and they thought it was a good possibility that the Tennessee might run a fake. So you have the fantastic view of Aleem McNeil trying to block Ryan Stonehouse, which is just fantastic. Great run by Khalif. He absolutely can put the burners on. P80 was good, and it made it 42-14. And then we forced a 3 and out. So second consecutive 3 and out forced by the defense. Nice tackle by Branch in the open field to force that 4th down. Punt fair caught by Raymond this time at the 17. He actually had a little bit of room, Raymond. I think he might have called a fair catch because he was tired. You know,
Yeah,
it's not like other players have taken plays off because they're tired this week. Anyway, so we take over our own 17. This is the longest field we've had all day. Detroit on their 9th possession. A nice throw to Khalif Raymond. So they don't give him a break for 7 yards on a crosser on 3rd and 4. But then on 3rd and 4, Goff strip sacked by Simmons, recovered by Goff, thankfully, for a loss of only 9. A punt to the Tennessee 12. I mean, we're all the way back at our 17 and we end up being 4th and 13. So we're back at our 14. It flips the field all the way to their 12, return to the Tennessee 23. Their 10th possession, Ridley on a jet sweep and a peanut punch fumble by Amik Robertson, recovered by Carlton Davis III at the Tennessee 26. I mean, it goes from bad to worse for this team, really. It's not even bad play. Amik makes an absolutely fantastic play, times it really well with that punch. It's the sort of behaviour we haven't really seen much with the Lions, at least successfully, for a long, long time. So Detroit with another short field, almost within the 25 of the 26. 10th possession, Goff play action throw to Sam Laporta, nice stiff arm for 10 to the 7-yard line. And then a play action swing to Khalif Raymond for the 7-yard touchdown. PAT's good, and it's 49-14. So Raymond, as the sole receiver on the near side, the right-hand side, motions up towards Goff as if he's going to go all the way to the other side of the field, but then motions back towards us as you watch it on the TV. And because no one follows him, and because there's no one in front of him, Goff just dumps the ball off to Raymond and he walks in. No one's anywhere near him. It's weird. It's really weird. I mean, with the Amon-Ra one, I can excuse it because at least you're just saying, I'm selling out for the run, which is kind of okay. But for this, it's like, it's fundamental. You can't just miss that. So, whoops. But hey, at least the game's gone by now. Third consecutive 3 and out because there was the fumble in there, but another 3 and out for the Titans. There was an attempt at I'm not interfering with you trying to stop the man catching the ball, but the throw was awful anyway, and OPI was called. That was on Pollard against Terry and Arnold. So they end up having to punt down to the Detroit 5, returned by Raymond for 44 yards to the Detroit 49, but a hold by Jalen Reeves-Maybin at the Detroit 29 sets it back to the 19. So Detroit starting at the 19, and a nice tight end screen to Sam Laporta to the Detroit 49 for 24 yards. Really interesting design on this because the screens like this haven't worked very much this season, but this time he's blocking Harold Landry, and he actually takes the block quite deep before releasing, and when he releases, because he's blocked quite deep, he's got a lot of room to make up, so he actually gets up to speed as he's catching the ball, so he's got plenty of momentum taking him forward, and the blockers have had plenty of time to get out in front of him without going more than 1 yard downfield before the throw goes, but good play design, because often when that tight end screen goes, the tight end's catching it completely static and then has to kind of trigger. So I really liked that. And the fact he blocks him deep sold it a bit more. Anyway, so that got us to near midfield, but the drive stalls out. On 3rd and 4, Goff got Tennessee to jump. I'm not sure they're clearly in the neutral zone, but it, for all the world, looks like they are. So Goff throws up a kind of 50-50 jump ball, trying to go for it all. It's not caught, and there is no flag, which is interesting, but it does give Bates the opportunity to kick through a 51-yard field goal, which was, I mean, I was never more sure of a kick going through in my life than that compared to some of his extra points, but there we go, straight through the middle, and Detroit break the 50 mark at 52-14, and there are no more points in this game. Both teams kind of go conservative a bit. Throws at Okonkwo on the far sideline, and Kirby absolutely hits him. It's a really impressive and dominating hit. 3rd and 9 at the Tennessee 49. Nice throw to Calvin Ridley for 13 to the Detroit 38. Pollard with a run up the middle for 16 to Detroit 22. But then on 2nd and 6 at the Detroit 18, just inside the red zone, another pass to Okonkwo and a fumble forced again by Robertson, recovered by Isaiah Thomas at the Detroit 22. So we avoid conceding even more points, and now Hooker comes in with just under 13 minutes to go in the fourth quarter. A quick screen pass to Isaiah Williams, who was hit about 3 yards behind the line of scrimmage, but manages to actually get out of that and for a gain of about 1 or 2. But we do go 3 and out in that possession and punt to the Tennessee 13. In the next drive, a nice PBU by Vildor, a deep attempt to Jackson, who beat Rakestraw deep, but he overthrew it. Punt to the Detroit 25. Detroit go 3 and out with runs. Tennessee then go 12 plays, 11 runs and 1 pass for 50 yards to end the game. They weren't trying to do anything, just accumulate some garbage time yards. Ash, it really, I would say interesting second half, but it really wasn't. Tennessee had a sliver of hope, a small chance, which was extinguished immediately by the Raymond touchdown. And then Amik Robertson took over the game, and that was all she wrote.
Yeah, it seems that Amik Robinson during the past week has decided to fill his time by watching some Justin Coleman early Lions highlights, just to, just to spice things up. Yeah, so I know Matt would have preferred to watch another Lion at that time, his highlight reel, but unfortunately, there's not many to watch. But yeah, at least it was just, again, domination for our special teams and the defense to the point where Chikokonko yet again proves why I should not keep drafting him in fantasy every year, because I'm going to keep getting bitten on the arse. And the one time I don't do it is the one time it's actually going to do well. But yeah, it was at least nice to see Hooker get some game time, though I get why we also pulled the rest of the starters and put in Isaiah Williams. We still had Patrick and Robertson out there because they're the guys he's used to throwing to. But at the same time, and I don't take full credit for this, this is partly from the other Ash on the Lions podcasting sphere said this, and I kind of agree. Would have been nice to see him try and develop some chemistry with Amon Ra, with Khalif, just in case, because not that I ever want to put this out in the universe because I'm that kind of person. Touching wood, it doesn't happen. But if anything happens to Gotham, we need him to come in with the full starters. I'd like him to be starting from square 3 rather than square 1. But other than that, went pretty much as we wanted. How even Isaiah Thomas wound back the years a bit with a rebound recovery, shall we say, to quote the basketball.
Yeah, to come on to game themes, I did have in Goff staying in too long. So if you didn't watch the game, it was very clear that Goff was struggling, limping around the field about halfway through the third quarter, maybe even earlier than that. And he was running when he needed to when the plays were being run, and he was jogging off the field. But in between plays, when he was getting to and from the huddle, he wasn't right, and it didn't show in the plays. So, okay, maybe it's fine to keep him in. But just when you are up as far as you were, and I think at the time it was either 42-14 or 49-14. Regardless, it's a 4 or 5 score lead. At that point, I do think you have to consider saying it's not just because Hooker is someone that we want to blood in with the starters and see what he can do. Because, some people are like, well, what if he throws 2 picks? And it's like, well, then it's a 3-score game? Like,
shock horror. Oh, no. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it doesn't matter. You're right. I want to see the chemistry there too. So it makes sense from the Hooker side. But just from a Goff pain management side, like, if you've done something, then jogging and running around on it, or God forbid, being hit more, is not a good thing. Like, either one of those is maybe not enough to make the change, but both together kind of is for me. You said you wanted Hooker on that side of it, but Goff clearly was hurt.
Yeah, 100%. Like, he had his right ankle taped during the first quarter as well. So at that point, yeah, when he was visibly limping, take him off, because speaking from kind of experience, the amount of times I've blow sprained my ankle this past year, you don't want to keep banging him up, because if we saw with Malcolm, as we'll get onto in a bit, because of the breaking news that came out about half an hour ago, sometimes they can all add up and you can have worse. Luckily, neither player did get worse. But yeah, Paul Goff, protect him, because yeah, we had a nice dominant lead here. We've kind of got a nice lead in terms of probability right now of making the playoffs. Let's just protect that, because not to pull the Tampa Bay card, but sometimes that's what happens when you leave your stars out there. That can happen. Not saying that Todd Bowles was wrong for keeping Godwin out there when he did, but that was a close game. This wasn't. Get Hooker out there, get some of the other youngsters like we did on defense as well. I know we still had to have Anzalone and Campbell out there just because of the inactive rule. This is the one time that I'm actually starting to come around to Riz's thinking on the inactives, because it kind of sucks that we couldn't put Sorsdale out there to get more reps at the tackle. Sucks we couldn't get Manu proper game time. Sucks we couldn't put the slot backup we've got out there. Just get all these people snaps, because when it comes to playoff time, as we damn well know from last year, sometimes you need to rely on the depth, and for them to have some nice snaps under their belt, them not coming in completely blind and being panicked by it, them being able to go, actually, no, I have come into this kind of situation. I know what I'm doing here, would have been nice. So, is what it is. Goff hopefully should be nice and fine. Unlike, the other starting QB for the team we'll be facing this weekend, pulling his groin that way. Like, if you're going to pull your groin, mate, pull it in the fun way, not just by getting shoulder barged by an edge rusher.
Excuse me.
Matt is dying.
I am.
COVID is back for him.
Just to mention, because you put it in the chat and I didn't actually say anything about it, Malcolm Rodriguez, the news came out about him a little while ago now, about 10 minutes or so. He avoided a high ankle sprain but re-aggravated an old injury of his. Nothing severe, expected to miss this week but should be back the week after against Houston. So, bad news for the Lions for Malcolm in terms of missing this coming week. Really good news for him in terms of not missing anything more than that, which is good. Let's talk about the defense. So, Mason Rudolph, for a time, maybe about the first quarter and a half, well, even the last possession of the quarter, they got down to the 1 yard line. Rudolph played himself a good game. He seemed to pick apart the defense pretty well, timing throws, what have you. There were some good runs mixed in there. When it was all said and done, the stat line doesn't look pretty. But is there any concern there? We've seen that kind of consistently, that good quarterbacks can pick us apart, and bad ones who are of this sort of ilk can do it as well. And then kind of what changed for you? Do you think it was just they rode the crest of a wave with the goal line stand, or do you think it was maybe the punt return for the touchdown at the start of the second half really kind of kicking that into gear? Or do you think there were any changes at halftime? Do you think it's all of the above? What happened to make the defense really step up in the second half?
I honestly think it was all of the above. So I'm going to go back to scroll up to which exact play it is. I know what the play is in my brain. I just got to remember what it was. It was the really deep. Yeah, so it was the one to open up their third drive to play action throw to Josh Wiley. The reason that Wiley was so open there, at least what I saw in my quick rewatch while I was eating my pizza for dinner, was that usually with our coverages, because we're quarters and cover one team, we're usually in quarters to start and then branches rotating down into a robber role. On that exact play, it's actually opposite. Branches starting is a robber and we rotate into quarters, which leaves the field open. Wiley just sees that, sits down, and Rudolph is able to hit him. So it's kind of one where it was just the perfect storm of we're playing zone because that's supposed to be easier for our secondary with the lack of pass rush, considering we're down to pass rush was 4, 5, 6 now. It's designed to help it. That's why there was a load of cushions as well, just because we're playing that off, because we're trying to negate the big play still with the lack of pass rush to help force turnovers. But then, yeah, kind of the confidence in, hang on, we can actually hold them here, combined with obviously getting some good fields of the punt returns and such, helping galvanize the defense, and just the fact that we put them in the hole where we knew we had to pass, and so we could kind of let up with the passers could pin their ears back and speed up the process against Rudolph, and us playing just a bit tighter, going to a bit more man because we've got trust now in everyone in that situation. It kind of all added up. But like, if we think we had it bad with the sort of constant moving of safeties in that, spoiler alert for the preview and for my article, we think we have it bad with disguises. Certain former Green Bay Packers were tweeting out yesterday that they need to stop disguising all their coverages because it's just making it impossible for the secondary to be in the right places for them. So keep an eye on coverage disguises against the Packers.
All right, the last thing I have really on this game, and then to go into stock up and stock down, is just to talk about special teams. Obviously, we did really, really well returning the ball. Are we on the same page when it comes to the punter?
Ryan Stonehouse sucks.
Yeah. So
Yes.
just to preface this, Ryan Stonehouse holds the NFL career record in gross punting average. So this is a person who definitely has a really big leg, right? There's absolutely no doubt that he is not J.K. Scott, right? J.K. Scott, bad hang time, bad distance. So just not a good punter. Stonehouse can only line drive the ball, basically. So he can kick it a long way. But I'm sure you guys will have seen this on the coverage. Every time Khalif was catching the ball, bar the one fair catch he had where he still had a little bit of room, but not as much, Raymond's had like 10 to 15 yards because Stonehouse doesn't have hang time. So I really think, where we got the kick return and the punt returns, obviously the kick return wasn't Stonehouse, but both of them kind of had the same issue, Ash, for me anyway, that they allowed the blocks to develop for the Lions because of the manner in which the way they punt, and Khalif was able to see the holes coming so much more easily for it. And when it comes down to this game, when you have less than 100 yards passing, and okay, fine, we had the 70-yard rushing touchdown by Gibbs, we didn't have much else on offense. If we take away all of these special teams plays, okay, the fumbles and the interceptions, yes, but the special teams made it so easy on us.
Yeah, and for once, I think I'm actually going to say something in less words than you. Stonehouse kept out kicking his coverage, which is stupid.
It's not complimentary. Normally when you talk about complimentary, you're talking about like coverage helping pass rush or vice versa, or we're talking about offense helping defense or vice versa. But this is within your own unit. Like, you have to play to your coverage, and Fitz made such a big point when he came into the team about that being one of the biggest things, is if that's not happening, what are you even doing?
Yeah, exactly. It's all well and good that you can kick it really far. Doesn't mean like you have to play to your coverage. That's why Fox is so good, admittedly, because we've got him coverage players on that side of the ball that can do it. So Dorsey, who we saw with the kick return, has got speed. He can run I think he was predicted between 4.45 and 4.4 in his 40-yard dash at and his pro day. That's speed. We've got Isaiah Williams, who's got speed. We've got all these guys. So if we do kind of kick it like that, we've got the speed to get down there quickly and cut off the lanes. The Titans just don't. And honestly, and someone else who's in that same realm is Jake Kamada, the former Tampa Bay punter who is now a free agent, because they cut him for the exact same reason. It's all well and good having the big arm. You have to play to it to bring maybe baseball into it. It's all well and good being able to hit to have the arm strength to hit a home run, but if you can't be a good shortstop, maybe you should hang it up by us. That's gonna rather chat up a bit.
Right, let's do some stock up, stock down, if there is any stock down, and there might be. There might be. Who do you want to give a shout out to this week?
Well, one player. Well, I know he got duked out of his shoes by Rudolph, which seemingly is a rite of passage for young Lions. I'm getting flashbacks to Sam Darnold duking Iffy out of his shoes in the infamous Christmas Eve game. Trevor Nowaski. You stepped up and got the interception. Admittedly, it was kind of a gimme, but when you're a pass rusher, first and foremost, to have the hands to do that and the awareness to jump the route, fair play to you.
It was a cracking play, and more examples of him doing the sort of plays which are going to get him more reps. He wasn't particularly highly rated by PFF in this game, but who cares? Who are we going to choose next? I'm going to go...
Do it. You're the president of his fan club.
Oh, I wasn't going to go there. I'm going to go for Khalif. And it seems so easy to do. What?
That's what I meant.
Oh, right. Good. I thought you were talking about the other one that I like. Anyway. Yeah, Khalif Raymond. So for ages I've been going on about his ability to be wide receiver 2. And obviously it's not necessary anymore. It hasn't been for some time. I still think he has the ability to be a wide receiver 2 in this league. When he comes in on offense, he seems to be able to get us first downs with regularity. You know, it's 3rd and long or it's 3rd and 5 and he comes on that shallow crosser as everyone else is going deep. He times everything's really well. He's got really good hands. Contact balance isn't the best, but so what? Then what he brings to your special teams, we all know that he's electric and he's done this before, but this is one of the best special teams games of all time. So I really think it would be nice to try and get him into the offense a little bit more. He had 15 snaps in this game on offense, and 5 were runs, 10 were pass. And that's good because it means it doesn't even tip off the defense as to what you're running, because it would be so easy to go, oh, Raymond's on the field, it must be a pass. Well, it doesn't have to be because he's actually, you know, a very enthusiastic run blocker too, but he was just fantastic today. Saw the holes, hit them. He actually had more punt return yardage, but that was called back after the hold. Brilliant day for him. We've got to have at least 2, maybe 3 each, I think, here. So anyone else you want to shout out?
I'm torn between 2, but I'll go for the one that perhaps I was slightly higher on than everyone else coming to this game. Al-Qadim Mohammed. Welcome to the team, my friend.
He was the guy I was thinking about saying, and I changed my mind.
Because I'd see. Glad that we're both on the same page. And obviously, I mentioned him in our preview, being like, Dan's mentioned him. He's got starting experience. Keep an eye on him. Also helps the fact that he wears one of the best numbers on the team. But coming in, playing nearly 50 snaps. Playing nearly 50 snaps. Getting 6 pressures, which is the most on the team. And honestly, not looking too bad. You're earning yourself a bit more stay here. I know, obviously, we're hoping we're going to trade for a pass rusher. But if Mohammed is still a rotational piece throughout the year, I won't be too unhappy based on today if he keeps it up.
It was a very impressive outing. I mean, most of the time, I have to say that his appearance was almost inconspicuous, as in runs weren't getting by him, and he was exerting a little bit of pressure without being remarkable at it. He was better than a replacement level player, and we picked him up off the street. Yeah. What else can you say? That is exactly what we needed. I think he looked better than quite a few players did in this game that we've had at that position throughout. You know, so James Houston, for example, and I don't want to rag on him because I thought he had a better day than he has had before. But 19 snaps, and I think Al-Qadim played better than him. Okay, my second one, I'll go for, again, someone that we've waxed lyrical about, Amik Robertson. And yes, he got burned deep for a big play to Calvin Ridley. We know Amik isn't the fastest player in the world. We know he's highly competitive. Maybe putting him one-on-one against Calvin Ridley is not the best idea in the world, but he forced 2 fumbles and showed the sort of attitude that we really wanted him to have. And he somehow has that sort of fuck you attitude without being a dick. Like, he's got that perfect ability of being a person that the other team doesn't want to face without us going, he's a dick, but he's our dick. That's not who he is. I love having him on this team. And hopefully, like Dan was saying, that sort of play from him does become contagious for the rest of the team, because it's the first time I've seen any of our players really go after the ball in those situations, and it just worked. So, really well done to him for showing us the way.
Well, yeah, I'd argue that Davis did it first last week with the touchdowns called back. But yeah, me, fair play to you. And yeah, on your point, talking of dicks who we say you're a dick, but you're our dick. Well done to Emi Martinez for winning the Yashin Award for the second time in a second year in a row. Very proud of you, my G. And my final player, someone that I'm going to have to hold my hands up. And you know this more than anyone because we had the discussion in the morning. Levi, I did not know your game. I thought with the calls ups and that, Levi, we're going back more inside. Fair play to you for having an elite game. Let's say 44 snaps, 86.1 grade. None of your grades were below 69.2. Fair play. You've again, someone who's earned some stay on the edge role. Yeah, you'll still probably get yours in the interior, but again, we have to keep playing Levi on the outside, even if it's a rotation role behind whoever we trade for. Well done. You're getting me more and more unable to, not unable to get rid of you, but you're earning your money if we do re-sign you or you go elsewhere. You're not just going to be you've got some talent, let's see if we can rehabilitate you. You're going to be let's see if we can continue this on kind of player.
He's getting towards being a priority re-signing for me.
Yeah.
So there are 2 key plays by Levi in this game. The first was the first interception. Levi is the guy in Rudolph's face, which causes him to throw the badly advised ball, which gets picked off by Trevor Nowatzki. The second key play is the very end of the first half. On 4th down and goal from the 1, Levi is the guy that hits Rudolph's throwing hand, which means that the ball is poorly passed. Now, it probably doesn't end in a touchdown anyway, because it's really well covered. But regardless, if it was poorly covered, Levi probably saves a touchdown, and he doesn't know whether the coverage is good behind him. He just has to put a damn good play out there, and he does. Yeah. In some ways, the game being 0-0, and him making that play for the interception, that maybe is a swing of 10 points. Then saving the 7 at the end, he might have changed the game to the tune of 17 points. That's unbelievable play. And the down-to-down ability of Levi, I have some questions. I'm not sure he's, creating pressure on every snap. In fact, I'm very sure that he's not that guy. But when it comes to high-leverage situations, he's dependable. And actually, do you want a guy who can end drives? Do you want a guy who can take points off the score from the other team? Or do you want a guy who's going to be consistently creating pressure but not finishing? Arguably, he's been incredibly impactful. And long may that continue. So I'm a big proponent of his game. I'll do one final one since he got a third in there. It's hard to choose Jameer when he only had 19 snaps.
He made the most of those 19 snaps.
He did. I'm going to go for Jack Campbell.
Fair.
Jack Campbell is stacking together fantastic games on fantastic games. He played 72 of the 76 snaps. 78.4 grade. He had 1 pressure in there. He had 8 tackles and 3 assisted tackles, so 11 total. He missed 1. But that was the Pollard play where he barely even got a hand to him. I think the fact that he even got close is a credit to him, even though it would be credited as a miss. 4 of his 11 tackles were credited as stops, which are a loss for the defense. So, he really put himself about there. His reading of the game has gotten a lot faster, which means he's getting to the ball more quickly. So, even if it looks like he's moving slowly, he's having a really big impact on the game. He's getting towards being a player that you just can't take off the field, hence the fact that he barely did. Looking at the other linebackers, Anzalone also had 72 snaps, so they're both kind of going as a tandem. I mean, who else are you going to bring on in his place, right? But
yeah, so
really, really good.
I know obviously you know a bit of it because you said this stat in the preview, but Jack Campbell, okay, admittedly with a filter of 50% snaps so far. So of linebackers has played 280 snaps, sixth in the NFL. Linebacker is a notoriously hard position to get used to. Look at Tremaine Edmonds in Buffalo. Look at arguably Roquan Smith with the Bears for the first couple of years. Look at Patrick Queen with the Ravens. Sometimes it doesn't work out. The fact that we're not even halfway through his second season in the NFL and he's playing at a top 10 linebacker level. Fucking amazing. Like, again, making... let's combine it with Gibbs for this take. The fact that this time last year, when looking at the draft, we're like, oh yeah, if you swap Branch and Hooker with these two, it makes the draft look a lot better. They've put their two middle fingers up to us and told us, fuck you guys, we're going to show you why we're first round talents. They're arguably two of our best players right now, Gibbs and Campbell. It's insane.
Yeah, it is absolutely insane. I'm just having a look at running backs in terms of overall score because I don't know where Jameer is. So David Montgomery is 4th in PFF grade and Gibbs is 7th.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool in itself. Just to illustrate with Jack Campbell, he's got a 77.5 overall grade for the season. There's only 12 players who have a 70-plus grade for the season. He's 6th. So, he's in pretty elite company there. The players above him, Jamie Sherwood of the Jets, Logan Wilson of the Bengals, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah with the Browns. God, how everyone in the draft missed on him, apart from all of the people at home who thought he was good. Bobby Wagner with the Commanders, and Fred Warner way ahead out on his own for San Francisco. All right, we've had ups. Are there any downs?
It pains me because I was wearing his jersey yesterday. The stats weren't 100% perfect from Hogan, which is sad. But also, it's kind of nice that that's the only person really jumping out. It's a long snapper who wasn't like doing terribly bad with his snaps, but just because they were slightly off, that's all we're really picking up on. Again, shows how far we've come as a team.
I will go for Ennis as well. Ennis Rakestraw comes in relief, 14 snaps, and he just absolutely gets toasted by Jaquan Jackson deep. Now, ball isn't caught, but that's a touchdown if it's thrown by a better quarterback. You're going up against the returner. You gotta know that he's got some speed. Rakestraw ain't no slouch. He's not really quick. He runs 4.5, I think, flat, or 4.51, something like that. He's got to give that just a little bit more depth. I mean, the one thing you don't want the Titans to do is score quickly in any of the situations at the end. But, it's garbage time. Fine if they score, who cares? But the only way the Titans can get back into the game is scoring touchdowns in mere seconds. Don't let them hit you deep.
Yeah.
It's a bad play in terms of if the game was close, you don't want that to happen. But because the game's so far dead, just give them a massive cushion. I don't really understand the thinking by Ennis, to be honest.
I am joking with this, but oh my God, is Matt calling for the team to go into prevent defense?
Yes. Yes, I am. At that point, both teams kind of went soft anyway, but then they threw that one deep and maybe it was just kind of a surprise anyway, but All right, that's my only one. I don't have anyone else. There were some not great performances on the offensive line, but yeah, and Zeitler didn't have a great day, but never mind. I'm not going to shout about them too much. Okay, any others that we need to talk about? Anything else about this game, or should we move on?
We can move on to dragging on the Bears some more.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to get to the rest of the weekend's games, and then we're going to address your questions. So let's go through the rest of the weekend's action. So we had the Rams beating the Vikings 30-20 on Thursday Night Football. Ash, that was I guess a mild surprise.
I could see it coming. The Honolulu Blue flu is very strong, to the fact where, as we'll mention in a bit, some teams are still feeling the after effects of it. Obviously, it helps that Cup and Nakua both came back for the Rams and played. Why the hell couldn't I predicted that? Because playing Nakua would have been very useful in one of my fantasy matchups. And again, as we'll come on to in another minute, another game, again, mentioning the Bears, would have also been helpful if I didn't side on the side of caution with advice from somebody, and I play a different QB. Best by the by, well done to the Rams. Okay, our division's the best division right now in football. The NFC West is the tightest division in football. Like, any one of them could go to the playoffs and wouldn't be surprised. It's the new NFC South in a way.
It is a really weird division. I'm still keeping to my take of San Francisco missing the playoffs. Mm-hmm. I just wonder whether they're going to be able to actually beat the remaining division players in the West. Because that's where that division is going to be won and lost. It isn't going to be about anyone else other than the people in that division. Can they beat each other? Because they've all proven they're about 500 teams, all of them. Seattle, Arizona. I mean, can the Rams come back into it? They're 3-4. It's what I'm keeping my eyes on. I don't think they're the new NFC South or East, because I kind of believe that all of these teams are a bit frisky. Like, I kind of think that all of them could maybe do things in the playoffs, but I think only one of them's making it. You have people in national podcasts saying, over or under to make it from the West, and they're like, oh, I won't bet against these teams because I like them. And it's like, but they're all about the same standard, and that's what's going to hurt them all in the end. Anyway, moving on, because we've got a lot of games to cover. Eagles beating the Bengals by multiple scores, 37-17. Eagles moved to 5-2. Bengals slipped to 3-5. Bengals had a chance to get to 500, and they squander it against an Eagles side they should have matched up well against.
Yeah, I'm just looking now. I did pick the Bengals. God damn it! I'm just looking at our pick watch because we did it, and I've just realised you did not do your picks for our pick watch this week. You naughty boy.
I didn't copy them to the league. I did make them. I just forgot to copy them over to the league.
Naughty.
Yeah.
But well done to Jalen Hurts remembering he's a QB and actually, throwing doing well. Like the touchdown to Smith was really good. Just, what are you doing, Bengals? I know you didn't have T. Higgins. Is the Bengals offense T. Higgins at this point? Because the 3 games they've won are the 3 games he's played in.
I mean, they really have to get out of it being the passing game, because they're coming up against an Eagles team that can't defend the run. But Bengals have no rush offense, and that's what I failed to look at. I was like, the Eagles should be such an easy team to beat. But, I mean, Jalen Hurts actually looks like a passable quarterback for once, and that really killed them. Bengals' defense generally is just bad.
Yeah, and Cooper DeJean showing why he maybe should have been picked higher. Well done to the Eagles for using him right in that sort of slot safety role, because that play he made on Jamar Chase, Jesus Christ, that's reminiscent of what he did at Iowa.
Missile.
Yeah.
A surprising result in the next one. Ravens fall to 5-3, losing to the Cleveland Browns 29-24, who improved to 2-6. And who knew? All you had to do was get your fully guaranteed $250 million quarterback to have an Achilles injury before you became good with a quarterback who, I mean, has had his own allegations in the past, so I won't say he's a saint either, but he is at least a passable quarterback, maybe even a top 32 quarterback, and you, for the whole season, have tanked your season because you refuse to play the best player.
You say that you literally predicted it on the preview. You did say, you did. No, you did. I'll hold my hands up and say you predicted it. But it's wonderful what you can actually do when, you've got it's contact with our game. It's wonderful what you can do in a timing offense when you've got a QB you can actually throw with some timing.
Yeah, I mean, Winston will throw picks. There's absolutely no doubt, but at least he gives you a chance.
Yeah.
All right, Titans at Lions was next one. So Cardinals Dolphins next up, and the Cardinals moved to 500, beating the Dolphins 28-27. And the Dolphins went out to a 10-0 lead in this game. Kyler Murray brought them back. I mean, it's one of those things with Arizona where I'm not absolutely convinced they're a good team, but then they show flashes, and I'm like, there's something there.
I did say in the preseason that Kyler Murray's a dark horse MVP candidate. Of course, he's not going to win it. Jared Goff will, but nice to see him kind of getting back to what he used to be. I'm sorry, Grandizer, that happened to you. Like, hopefully, Tua, now he's kind of back next week. We'll be back into the flow of things, and you can win. But it's what it is. Cardinals, well done. You're top of the NFC West now. Let's see what you can do from here on out.
Mm-hmm. All right, next up is Jets-Patriots, and the Patriots pull out the win 25-22. Had to do it from behind 13-7 down at the half. But it kind of happened in the most hilarious fashion at the end. Both sides potentially cooked now, but the Patriots did it to their rivals, and they did it to Aaron Rodgers, and how we laughed.
Exactly. What do the Jets need to do now to win a game? Is it bringing Robert Tonyan? Is it I don't know, getting Greg Jennings out of retirement to put the team on his back? Fuck those. Well done to the Patriots for winning, in spite of your good QB getting hurt. Hope Drake May feels better soon. Especially, next week capitalize on the Titans just playing us, so you can absolutely spank them. But fair enough. Well done to the Patriots, and I hope the Jets continue to crash and burn because fuck Aaron Rodgers.
Next up, Falcons-Buccaneers. Falcons take control of the division with a win 31-26 away. And they had to survive a Buccaneers comeback late. But, Ash, it's a tough division that the Saints have shit the bed, and the Panthers, well, they did that long before. But in a battle where it was really a must-win for the Falcons, they are now 3-0 away from home. And, this team, when it wants to play, can be pretty scary on offense.
Yeah. I bet Kirk Cousins wishes he could play the Bucs every week, because for some reason he just turns it on against them. He's done the double over them this season now. Also, just feel sorry for the Bucs. Like, maybe it would have been a different game if they had either Evans or Godwin, just someone reliable to throw to. And congratulations to all the Carl Pitts owners. You hung on for this long, clinging to hope, and he finally actually rewarded you for once.
Kirk Cousins went 23 of 29 for 276 and 4 passing touchdowns. It was an efficient performance by him. Next up, Packers against the Jags. Packers win 30-27, advance to 6-2. Love injured with a groin, but expected to be day-to-day. May not be any big lasting injury for him. It looked like the Jags had tied it up late, but the worst defense in the world came to fruition once again. What can you say? Malik Willis came in the second half, and there wasn't really any drop-off by the Pack.
Yeah. It kind of helped. I'll see if I can find the clip to put on our Discord. It kind of helped that their linebackers, despite them investing so fucking much in that room, they're all getting confused by a play-action bootleg and just running nowhere, allowing Tucker Craft to get very wide open. Just the Jags are a bloody mess. They're a bloody mess, and I feel sorry for all their fans in a way, and at the same time also feel sorry for us because somehow the Packers have found a kicker who actually can do stuff, which is scary because they usually have had bad special teams. The fact they kind of now got someone who can kick field goals is useful to them. Though when it comes to our house later in the season, the ghost of Mason Crosby will come back and scare them. I can see it happening.
Next up is the Colts at the Texans. Texans just prevailed 23-20 in a weird game. I mean, Anthony Richardson, 10 of 32 for 175, a touchdown and a pick. I think the Texans pressured him on about 61% of plays, which is horrific. So Indy just struggling to protect him, but I mean, Richardson's almost completing a third of his passes in this game. And I think it's time at this moment to just say, at least for right now, I'm not sure Richardson's the best quarterback for the Colts to move things forward at this point.
Yeah, and yet their head coach still won't, go away from him, despite, and people in our Discord will be able to see this graph. There's a graph of QB efficiency where there's completion rate above expected and EPA per play. And oh my God, Anthony Richardson is so far back on it. Like, you can have a normal graph that ends, and at the end, you've just got that weird line of Jordan Love and Aaron Rodgers, Jacoby Brissett, and Deshaun Watson, all with just above -5% completion rate over expected. And then you scroll back to -15 for Anthony Richardson. He is looking like Miami Anthony Richardson, and not in the good way. You can have the flashy throws where receivers get open and he hits them deep, but the guy just can't. Again, it's a guy in a timing offense who's unable to work in timing. It's maddening. Like,
he needs to be the gunslinger.
Yeah, he wants to be the gunslinger, and sometimes that can work in some offenses. Look at Stafford with us, and I hate to say it because I do love those kind of QBs, but Richardson, Levis, Trey Lance, is that, I know everyone's trying to chase the next Mahomes and that, but will they start finally working out? They can't. And even then, look at Mahomes this season. Dylan Raiola actually looked like the young Mahomes this past week because he threw 3 interceptions. Wake up, sheeple. It's the time of the field general is back, and that's why Goff is doing so well.
Next up is Saints at Chargers. Chargers win 26-8 in a game which saw Rattler benched again for Jay Kaner. The Saints got nothing going on offense. They did force a safety, but Justin Herbert, his stats don't jump off the page. 20 of 32 for 279 and 2 touchdowns, but this was Justin Herbert, his absolute best for me. I mean, absolutely brilliant throwing the ball, and have yourself a day, Lab McConkey. 6 of 6 for 111 and 2 touchdowns. There was one person on this podcast who said he was a bona fide top of the first round pick. And he's doing his best.
Do I have to get you a brass instrument for Christmas to replace the trumpet you keep blowing?
To be fair, though, I said Lam McConkey was close to being a top 10 pick for me.
Yeah, which is fair, and he's showing it. He just wasn't the fit for us, which was my only contention with him. Like, he is a good receiver. I just didn't think he was a fit for us. We needed that X, and I stood by that, and it kind of proved right. But yeah, well done to Justin Herbert for kind of turning it around the past couple of weeks, the past 2 weeks or so. Vast improvement from him. Again, just sad that the Saints can't work out, that they're not a good team, and we won't start trading away assets. They're just getting themselves even more into a cap hole. But it is what it is. Sucks to suck, I guess. And well done to the Chargers and Jim for getting above 500 again.
All right, next game up is Bills at Seahawks. Bills run away with this one 31-10. It was 31-3 in a game where the Seattle Seahawks just couldn't stop shooting themselves in the foot. I mean, Geno on 4th down, they went for it and he was stepped on, so had to fall over and couldn't complete anything. They had another play, I think, from the goal line which didn't work out for them, so left plenty of points on the field. Allen threw his first pick of the season, but still looked really good. James Cook went off for over 100 yards. Everything that could go wrong did go wrong for Seattle. And when you're missing DK Metcalf, that ain't going to help.
Yeah, which is why I've got a bone to pick with you. I know I know we both kind of agreed on it, but why did I let you talk me into starting Geno Smith over Jaden Daniels?
I didn't tell you to do that.
Yes, you did.
Did I? Whoops.
Yes.
Well,
and now I might have nearly lost that fact. It's the only fantasy matchup I might lose this week. I could have easily won by now if I started Daniels over Geno. But alas, we live with it. Fair play. The funny thing is for me with this game as well, watching the clips of Keon Coleman talking to Tariq Woolen in between players. Again, proving why Keon Coleman's such a great guy. Look at his booking.com advert and then go watch those clips where Tariq gets a really nice pass breakup on him and Keon just goes, nice play, and walks off. Lovely guy.
Next up, Panthers at Broncos. Broncos win 28-14, including a second quarter where Denver scored 21 unanswered points. And yet, Bryce Young looked much better than he has done so far in his fledgling career. He was 24 of 37 for 224, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks. But Bo Nix, I did put a little wager on in preseason for him being Offensive Rookie of the Year. And quietly is putting together a fantastic season on a Broncos team operating with 60% of the cap. I mean, 28 of 37 for 284 and 3 touchdowns, no picks, against one of the worst defenses in the league, yes. But he's carrying that team.
Yeah, he really is. Like, well done to Cam Sutton for, Cortland Sutton, not Cam Sutton. Cam Sutton is far away from the NFL right now. Well done to Cortland Sutton for getting to 100 yards for the first time in forever. Just, yeah. Panthers don't know what they're doing. Broncos are getting themselves in position to eventually replace Cortland Sutton with Tez Johnson. It's just on the cards. I can just see it. Just like I can see the Cowboys picking Austin Giante in the first round, I can see the Broncos picking Tez Johnson. It's just one of those matchups that's made in heaven for them because they get a great receiver who has chemistry with their QB, and he could be the next Michael Thomas for them. But yeah, well done to the Broncos again. If the Chiefs start slipping a bit, could they maybe catch up a tiny bit? They're only 2 games, well, 2.5 games behind because they're 5-3. The Chiefs are 7-0, but the Broncos look surprisingly decent, which is fun.
So you mentioned the Chiefs. That's the next one up. They win 27-20 at the Raiders, move to 7-0. Raiders down to 2-6. And the Raiders had 242 yards of gross offense, but they wouldn't go away in this game. I mean, at one point I said in the chat, could the Raiders do this? Because the Chiefs, for having much better statistical performance, rushing and passing, and, Travis Kelce having himself a day, 10 of 12 for 90 and a touchdown. Mahomes threw another pick, didn't look particularly great. Raiders made good plays in high leverage moments. They scored touchdowns when they needed to. And, even towards the end, it was never quite done. And this is a Raiders side that, frankly, is shit.
Yeah, it really is. And the fact that they stuck around for that long, as you're saying, is a wonder upon itself. Because, yeah, the cheater for all the hustle and bluster for the Chiefs being 7-0, the only undefeated team, somehow they're almost doing us. They're playing down to their opposition. The only thing really for me that kind of stopped the Raiders is the fact that Antonio Pierce could not leave his offensive coordinator alone when Getsy was actually trying to, call a competent offense for once in his life. AP steps in and it fucks them. It really does. Somehow, the Chiefs were making Luke Getsy, who, if people don't remember, is the former Bears OC. Somehow it made him look like a decent OC. And that's Spags, who I have all the respect to the for Steve Spagnuolo. The fact that you made a former Bears OC look competent is kind of a red flag. Like, you got to be better than this. The only time I want you to see called that bad a defensive game is against us in the Super Bowl this year, please.
All right. Penultimate game we're covering here, Bears at Commanders. Commanders were in command for basically the entire game through 3 quarters. It was 12-7, but it was 9-0. And then the Bears have a reasonable kind of second half generally where they score 15 points to go ahead. They score a touchdown with 20 seconds remaining to go in front, 25 seconds remaining to go in front. And somehow the Commanders go 4 plays, 76 yards in 25 seconds, including a 52-yard Hail Mary. They shamed themselves, you know. They are the laughing stock of the NFL in what has been described by Bears fans on the, say, Athletic Football Show as the most important game in the regular season the Bears have had in a decade. And they came up short because they can't defend a Hail Mary. And because they're not even looking at the play in some capacity. You know, it's awful. And the only thing is that the rest of the league should be worried about this Bears team because the Commanders got into the red zone 3 times and were turned away all 3 times. Although they bent, they didn't break in the entire game, and it gave them a chance to win the game at the end of it. And I think they'll play that way against all of the teams in this league, and they're going to be a worry for people. But the Commanders go to 6-2, and are maybe the big threat to the Lions in the NFC now.
Yeah. My only comment on this game is... What the hell are you doing, Tyreek Stevenson? Concentrate on the fucking game. You've got to the point where a Div 3 school is clowning on you. A Div 3 school in your own bloody city is clowning on you. As much as I loved you in the draft process as a corner, what are the Bears doing? They played really damn well. The fact that the Commanders had to do that and somehow managed to pull it off. The fact that he was even in that situation when they were there, I know Daniels had the rib injury, so maybe their offense was held back a bit by that. But this was the first game in a while where both teams had a go-ahead touchdown in the last 30 seconds of the game. To the point where there's tweets where, the Bears now won the game, and now because of what's happened, there's all the community notes underneath saying the Bears did not win this game. Just that, and summed it up pretty well on our Discord. The fact that we had respect for our opponents when on a 4th and 1 where they could have faked a punt, we had our starting defense out. On a Hail Mary situation, which is a lot less probability, the corner who was supposed to box out the guy who catches the touchdown is too busy yapping at the fans. What's a worse head loss? That or Eric Cantona versus Crystal Palace? That is a deep cut reference for before I was born.
Right. Final game was Sunday Night Football. Cowboys at 49ers. 49ers prevail 30-24. Cowboys slip under 500. 49ers get back to 500. The Cowboys held a 10-6 lead, but halfway through the third quarter, they were 10 points down after a pick and 2 touchdowns by the 49ers. And then the 49ers scored again after a 3-and-out, and then they forced another 3-and-out. So they were up 17 points into the fourth quarter, I think. Yeah, into early in the fourth quarter. And, Cowboys scored 14 late to kind of make a game of it. But in the end, 49ers had 223 yards on the ground. This Dallas team cannot defend the run. And while Dak did a little bit, when you throw in those picks into the mix, you can't win this game. Congrats to Isaac Garendo for 85 yards on the ground, and Brock Purdy for 56 on the ground. I mean, between the two of them, they won this game.
There you go, blowing your own trumpet again. What did you say on the preview show?
I did call out Garendo, didn't I? I didn't even think about that.
Called out Garendo. Yes, you called out Garendo. This week has been, other than you not putting your picks into our pick watch, this week has been really damn good for you predicting stuff. Coming pretty damn well in our college one as well. I'm upset. The one thing that's got me about this game is the fact that for some reason George Kittle's been nominated for Ground Player of the Week by FedEx.
Well, 6 of
despite
7
not
for 128 and a touchdown was pretty good.
through the air,
Oh.
and he's been nominated for Ground Player of the Week, and he's fucking gonna win it, despite which means that Gibbs can't go back to back, which upsets me. That's why I'm pissed. Like, why? He did nothing on the ground, yet he's getting nominated for it. That's annoyed me.
Well, Gibbs isn't going to win it because he literally just didn't have enough reps, I don't think. God, he didn't even have 20 reps on offense.
Yeah, but he's got all the stats. He's not been nominated. It's him, Kittle, and I forgot who the other one is, but those are the two would have done it. Also, but the one really good thing from this, well done to Ricky Pearsall. Like, 1 carry, 39 yards, 4 catches on 4 targets for 38. Decent little debut. Well done.
It was.
Kind of glad that I stashed him on IR on one of my leagues, because especially since Debo got hurt again, so he's going to take the lead from here on out.
Fair. Right, that is week 8 all done. We're going to get to some questions now. I'm going to leave this in the audio show because we've been going 14 seconds less than 2 hours, so we can get this in. So Grandizer starts us off saying, a good solid win for the Lions. What does this tell the NFL about the Lions right now? Is it me, or do they seem to be getting slept on? 1990 time for those fans? ? Actually, think the Lions are being slept on?
Not really. No, still kind of, because there's still people out there who think our defense is not great. They say it's one of the worst in the league for some reason. Though, to be fair, to also caveat what I've just said, it's mostly salty Minnesota fans, so maybe that's it. But I think overall, kind of are. But people are really starting to wake up to how good we are. Like, to the point where everyone's like, "Oh yeah, we don't want to face the Lions right now." Like, I've got fans of from AFC teams. I've got a fan who's a friend who's a Jets fan. I've got a friend who's a Chiefs fan, and they're all like, "We don't want to face the Lions right now. What are you on?" Like, it's fun. It's nice being in this position where we are on the top of the hill and smiling down, waving at everyone, because we've been down in the dungeon for too long.
I mean, for me, we're not being slept on. This is the first time where the quarterback's actually been given MVP consideration. The majority of power rankings have us at number 1 in the NFL. No one's sleeping on us anymore. We're here, and everyone knows it. For me. Right, questions about trades. First of all, I'll go to the other Grandizer question that I have, which is, will we have 3 to 5 players that the Lions should trade for? Do we have a wish list? Or should the Lions sell a few assets? Dead weight ? I'm going to pivot to the latter part of that question because the other people have suggested about trade candidates. So I think that kind of forms part of the conversation about a wish list. Is there anyone you think the Lions should sell? Because we can both buy and sell. And there may be players who are not long for this roster. Maybe if we acquire, as you have alluded to, then there's more players than we need on this team, and maybe someone gets cut. Well, what happens if we trade away someone first? So is there anyone that you're thinking might be at the end of the road as a Lion?
There's 2, and I've mentioned them before. But unfortunately, I don't think they're going to be picked up for much anyway, because that's just the nature of the market and kind of the positions they play and where they rank for us. So one is Craig, which I know pains fans, but I want to give Varkey more of a role on offense. And Craig's done great for us. We will never forget the block he laid down for Amon-Ra last year against Tampa Bay, but I think it would be fairer to him if we can, even if it's if it's like a conditional 6 or something, to send him somewhere where he can get more reps, because he's very much buried on his depth chart and he's a good enough player that he could be an RB2 somewhere else and actually get, more than a couple of snaps a game. And then the other guy is Kindle Vildor. He's a good enough corner that a CB needy team might be interested in picking him up because he's good enough. The only issue with that is, will those teams be drawn in by more flashy names? for example, Tre'Davious White, who it's been confirmed today that the Rams are giving him permission to seek a trade. Those early two I can really see, because everyone else is either just not known enough. So, like, yeah, maybe Parker Hesse is the one I'm saying he might not be long for the rest of, but teams would just be more willing to try and get him off waivers or something like that. And even then, knowing us, he'll probably be cut with an expectation to come back on the practice squad. So there's no one really dead weightish for us.
There's no one for me on the roster who's going to attract any trade interest that we want to get rid of. And that's the key bit we want to get rid of. Even the people in the last year of their deal, we want or need all of them. So even when it comes to someone like James Houston, who's been mentioned a few times, we literally need the edge depth. Like, he played some significant reps in this game, and we might expect that to continue. Now, it may only be 20 reps a game, but we need that. If we trade for an edge, maybe he becomes expendable, but it's kind of too late then. It has to kind of happen in advance, and I just kind of don't see it. There are other names who might otherwise be expendable, but they're just not at this point. So, I mean, even Kindle Vildor came in, had some really good reps, plays his heart out, is a good special teamer. Like, everyone shits on Vildor. He hasn't been inactive once. And he comes in, and when he plays, he makes good plays. When he is not a starter, and he comes in either in relief or on special teams, he makes big plays.
Yeah,
so,
like, everyone's holding two particular plays against him. One, which wasn't his fault, because number one, there was holding on Hutch. Number two, unfortunately, Derek Barnes forgot to use his hands / arms.
mm-hmm.
And then the other one is just a freak 1 in a 10 million play where instead of deflect the ball bouncing off his face mask onto the ground, it bounced off his face mask right into the hands of Brandon Ayuk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Neither play can really control.
Right. About trading inward for the Lions, and Brent DeWitt says, I would rather have Arden Key over Harold Landry from what I saw from the Titans. What do you think?
Yes and no. So as we were saying in the pre-show, Key is the more consistent player. Landry has the higher upside so far in their careers. Key was the third round pick. Does a bit of everything. Landry has had the high upside. He's had seasons with 9, 10, 12 sacks in his career. And then based off yesterday, Landry was facing Penne, who is like the best tackle in the league. So maybe it's very hard to beat him. While Key was facing a Decker who's not full of confidence right now, is probably the best way to put it. So maybe it was just one of them where it was a bad matchup for Decker and a good one for Key, and not so much for Landry versus Saul. I'd be happy with either. They both know Terrell Williams, and I know the team has had interest in Arden Key before. We were interested in signing him before he went to the 49ers, where he had his best season. So I'd be happy with either. Don't really have a preference between them. Yeah, Key had a really good game yesterday. Landry could easily come in and do the same for us.
I would take either. I would prefer Arden Key, and not because of what he did yesterday necessarily, but I just believe he's a better player. And not even about anything to do with scheme or anything else like that, although I do prefer my edges to have the length that Key has compared to Harold Landry.
You prefer length to girth.
I do. There we go. Well, anyway, next question. Drew H asks, what are your odds to trade for 2 edges, i.e. an open end and a Sam? Don't think a close end is likely.
I actually think a close end is probably the most likely, because just the way that role is. And that's the thing that you can't, like, it's very hard to look at body types and say it. So Isaiah Thomas can play both. He's probably our closed end right now. Pascal can play closed end. But it just depends who we bring in. The odds though for 2, I just don't see it, because that's giving up a lot of draft capital, probably. Like, we don't have a third right now. So that really shuts off, because do you want to trade a second for someone? No, I can't name names who that could be. But let's say, I don't know, if we said the Bengals turn around and say, we want your second for Trey Hendrickson, would you do it? Maybe, but then you're bringing someone else. That means you're either dipping into the first pool or you're probably having to give up a fourth and something else. You're really limiting the draft capital we have, and that's our trump card right now. Brad Holmes is having a historic hit rate in the draft. Reminder that everyone that Brad has drafted so far is still on the roster in one way or another, because the team still considers the practice squad part of the roster, so Jamal Jefferson counts. Do we really want to be giving up the lottery tickets that Brad seemingly is just pulling jackpots out of left, right, and centre? I don't know. So one, I'm at 99% certainty we trade for someone. Two, 15%.
Yeah, I could back that. I do not think that we are so blessed with depth at either position that we can be choosy. If someone comes available at any of those positions that's going to help us at a price that we're willing to accept, we should expect any of those players to come. So, right, DMAP Zoom with the final question of the show is asked, considering how the Browns have found new life, will they be willing to trade one or both of those edges? So the Browns obviously got the win yesterday to move to 2-6. It's still a thin road to success, though, Ash.
Yeah. So they'll be willing to trade one of them. They won't give up Miles. They will not give up Miles Garrett. And it's kind of like, I know, obviously we traded away Stafford when we came here, but that would be like this regime coming in now and being like, okay, yeah, we're going to trade Penei Sewell. That is a foundation. That's a franchise player you build around. Zadarius Smith, on the other hand, there's a reason why I can't see bringing him up. He is probably the top of my trade target list, because it just makes sense in terms of team is coming from historic production. He's also got the revenge game factor to play into, because remember, he's a former Packer and a former Viking. So that's an extra, if we get him in for this week, that's 3 games of revenge factor that you're getting, and based on how players have been playing the past couple of weeks against their former teams. So, well, kind of. So obviously against the Cowboys with the offensive line and everyone, the whole team just going off on them because of what happened last year. This past week with Kelly going off against his former team, because remember, he was cut from Tennessee and we picked him up. Bringing in Zadarius Smith would be great. So I think the odds of trading him, especially to here, pretty high. He's even mentioned it. He was asked about it a couple of weeks ago. He's like, yeah, I'd like to play for the Lions. So I think they'll be willing to trade to see, not so much Myles Garrett. If they do trade Myles Garrett, Jesus Christ, that franchise will be screwed, because they're trying to move away from the city anyway. That fan base will turn quicker than God knows. It's mad.
All right, we're going to round out the show there. I do agree with Ash just on that point, so I'm not going to elaborate any further. Our next show is going to be on Thursday for the Green Bay preview, and we're going to have not just one but both eyes on the trade deadline coming up in 8 days' time. Do keep an eye out for the College Football Podcast. It's Week 9 in review and Week 10 preview. So that's Ant and Ryan coming up either today or tomorrow, I would suspect. They do a great job, and it was another great weekend of college ball, so do check them out. You can find us on our socials on Royal Lions UK on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. And the group for worldwide fans is Detroit Lions Fans UK One Pride Worldwide. Website rotluk.com. Please don't forget to subscribe, rate us 5 stars on your podcast provider, like, all that sort of stuff. You guys know what to do. Just remains for me to thank Ash for doing this for me, and to all of you for listening. We'll see you later on in the week. But for now, we're still leading the NFC, guys. Let's go Lions One Pride.
One Pride and fuck the Packers.
Recording stopped.